Hello, my lionesses. I am super, super, super excited to be back with you. My name is Catherine Cooper, and I am with you here in the Lair with Catherine. This is your channel from the Lair Studio, where we are empowering women to step into their purpose passionately, powerfully, and profitably. We want you leading in everything that God has called you to do. And here I am to help you make sure that you do that to the fullest. And I am super, super excited. I know it's been a long time. It's been a while coming. I had to take a hiatus because life got in the way, and work and job and kids are growing and families growing and things like, well, I'm not having any more kids, just so you know that. But so there's just a lot going on, but I am coming back to you, and I've got things planned because I'm coming back to you and I'm launching full time, you guys. Woohoo! I myself am stepping into my purpose. I am so excited. It's not a secret anymore. We've been working it out. I'm in transition right now, going from my 9-to-5 corporate to doing what God has called me to do. I am going to be a momager, a stay-at-home mom, and raise my daughter for the latter years of her academics and her education, and be a grandma at home. But I'm also going to be here more full-time for you ladies and helping you step into your purpose. So I'm really excited about that. We have a lot of good stuff coming up and planning and working it out, but I'll talk more about that later, because today on this recording, I am so excited. So excited, because I have met this young lady through my church, and she has blown me away from the day that I met her. She is a woman of many talents, many gifts, much beauty. I mean, I love her to pieces. I mean, she is amazing. I don't even want to give any pointers or highlights to her bio. I want to just go ahead and read her bio to you from her website, because it's so powerful. It's so amazing. All the things that she is doing and everything that God has done in her. And so today, our Lioness Rise Spotlight special lady here, who's going to be sharing her journey into her rising and her purpose, is Mabel Stevens. And Mabel has her website, mabelstevens.com. And I'm just going to read you her bio. It says here, "Hi there, everyone. My name is Mabel. Thanks a ton for visiting my page. I am a newly published author, a small business owner, a licensed minister, and my favorite of all, a sister to many. I am a Liberian and Sierra Leonean."
Yes.
Is that how you say it? Okay. Leonean heritage, but I was born in a small country on the west coast of Africa called Ivory Coast. My family and I moved to the United States in 2000. We now live in Apopka, Florida, where I run my small business and also work part-time as a nanny. I've spent the latter half of my life working with youth and children as a camp counselor, youth leader, dance instructor, community rights advocate, and even now in my small business. I believe children are the future leaders of tomorrow. Yes. And I desire to impart to them a sense of purpose, identity, faith, hope, and love. I've recently co-founded a ministry with my sister for young women of color called My Sister's Keeper. I consider it to be one of my life's greatest accomplishments. My Sister's Keeper enables me to mentor and life coach. I messed that one up. My Sister's Keeper enables me to be the mentor and life coach I so desperately needed, but unfortunately never had. How many of you can resonate with that? Put it in the chats, put it in the comments. I resonate that I wish when I was in my 20s, when I was 18, when I graduated high school, when I was in college, when I was running around in my late 20s, maybe even early 30s, I didn't have that mentor. I didn't have that person that could model it for me, because a lot of people in my generation, Mabel, because I'm kind of like in the generation before yours, our parents were in survival. They were surviving, they were just getting by. And it's what we learned. And so we were learning to survive. We were just coping and grabbing on to a lot of unhealthy, toxic coping mechanisms and things like that. And so it wasn't until the generation after that we started figuring things out, and we started saying, no, we're going to change this, little by little. But then, so then our kids started realizing, I'm not going through that. I'm changing this, and so
Amen.
now it's kind of taking a turn in trajectory. And I'm so excited about what you're doing. Guys, she is the author of The Lost Get Found. This is an awesome, awesome book that you can get on her website, mabelstevens.com. And, I was so impressed by this. I was so glad to be a part of the process. You had the book already written when we met and we started coaching and talking, but to read your story, there's so much in here. There's no way to cover all of it. There's so much greatness in here and great stories that a lot of women, young women, can identify with, because it's about discovering identity. It's about healing. It's about knowing who you are and where you're going and what you want and what you don't want, and experiencing the pain and the tragedies and the triumphs. And so it's a really great, great, great story. But I love how even in the introduction, you just hit it right on the nail. There's so many young people struggling with this, you can tell that, just so many kids need that voice to help them understand who they are. And so I love, love, love what you're doing with My Sister's Keeper, with this book, and going around and just sharing and speaking and imparting into people's lives, young women's lives. So I don't want to even take up a lot more time. I want you to do most of the talking. I don't want to do most of the talking, but I'm just going to kick it off with this one question that you said that really jumped off the page for me in your first chapter, The Garden. And you said here, I wonder what would happen if we were audacious enough to believe God at his word. What would life be like, ladies, lionesses, if we really believed we were a lioness, right? Yeah. If the Lion of Judah calls us a lioness, what would our life look like if we really walked as a lioness? If we really walked as that leader that he's called us to be? And I love your book because it exemplifies, it models, it shows the process of becoming that. And so I know that your demographic, my demographic is usually women over 35, and yours is like 18 to 35. And so we come together and we're like, hey, you can grab the young girls, I'll grab the older, more mature women, and not old women, because we're not old, more mature, seasoned women. But, so tell me about that first experience. Tell me about that awakening that has happened. What was that like for you to be awakened to your calling? Tell us about that experience.
It was painful. I'll say that. It was exciting. But it started painful because there was a process of healing that had to take place. Yeah. I had to be undone of everything that I thought spoke to who God had called me to be, right? I had to be undone of all those things, because in my book I shared I was picked on, called names, all these things, right? And so there was a lot of heartache, there was a lot of pain, and going through that process of being undone, of being truly like seeing like this isn't who God has called me to be, but he's called me to be strong and bold and kind, and just learning to embrace that. Was terrifying at first, was scary, and just giving God okay, I trust you. Everything that you're saying to me is true. I'll stand on this word, and I'll stand on you, right? And so it started off terrifying, but then it became this beautiful exchange of where I give him my heartaches, I give him my hurt, I give him my pain, and he in turn showed me joy and love and peace. And when I began to see who he had called me to be, I began to really live and to thrive and to just be like, God, I'm at peace with this person. I really like the state that I'm in. I really like this stage that I'm in. And let me just say this, it's not, how can I put this? Each day it is a tug, and you have heard me tell you, like, there are things I feel like he's telling me to do now, and I'm just like, no at first, but then it's just like tug of war and this tug and pull. But then I'm like, okay, God, I surrender. It's yours. Just have it. Okay, right?
Yeah.
And so, but although it's a tug, when we finally surrender our all and just trust Him and just trust that we know who God is, right? And just knowing that He is good and knowing that we could trust His word, right? It becomes easier and we can just enjoy it,
Yeah.
enjoy the process of becoming everything that He's called us to be, right? So
Yeah.
I would say it's it starts off painful, but it turns out joyful. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, because I totally resonate. I totally get that. It an awakening, when we think about the Bible, and I know I didn't say this in the beginning, guys, but if you've been tracking with me long enough, you know that the Lair Studio is leadership development, but it also incorporates kingdom principles. This is faith-based Christian, and a lot of my process and a lot of my principles I get from what I learn in my spiritual and faith walk. And so in Genesis, Genesis 1, he says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Whether we believe it or not,
Yeah.
I believe it. That's what I believe. That's what we believe. But I'm pulling this out for a reason, because it says, the earth, in the beginning, the earth was void and formless. Interestingly enough, the scripture says, in the beginning, the earth was void and formless. Void and formless is not pretty. It's not.
Wow.
It's not
Yeah.
the garden.
Beautiful.
The beginning looks like disaster.
Yeah. Wow.
It looks like the falling apart. It looks like the crumbling. And a lot of times, a lot of people think that my life is falling apart. I'm a mess. And I like to say, that is the best place to be, because that's
Beautiful
the beginning
exchange.
of stepping into your purpose, stepping
Yeah.
into greatness, if you allow the process, if you allow. And so what I hear you saying is that in the beginning, it was painful. So tell me, if you want to share, was there a specific moment, a specific circumstance? Was it something that made you go, oh my God, I need my life to change? Like it was just that one moment that made you say, something's got to shift?
I want to say I don't think so. My entire life, I won't say my entire life, okay. Um, um, but at a young age, I always felt like I was called to something like higher, right? I always had that feeling in me, but then life kind of hit me quite a bit, right? Because of my speech, because of my hair texture and my skin, kids would pick on me. And so my hopes and dreams kind of got crushed. It was like a weight after another after another. And so it was like I began to lose my hope, right? And I remember getting into high school and I was just buried and just depressed and down at that stage. But I can't think of a moment where it was like something needs to change or like I need to step out. For me, it was always what always drove me and compelled me, it kept me to continue to go was my love for God and knowing that there is purpose in me and that whatever God has called me to, it's not merely about myself. It's also about those that He has called me to help. And so that heaviness on me kind of made me feel like if I don't fulfill my calling in life, if I don't do what God has called me to do or like asked me to do, what will happen to those that He has called me to, right? And so for me, there was always like this heaviness and that has always been my drive. But there were moments where I kind of like 2019 was kind of my quit year because it had been many years. I had been doing it for
So
so
that
many
was
years.
your awakening year.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
There you go.
So
It was your quit
2019
year.
was like
Tell us about that.
2019. I had been doing it for a while. I had been like just pushing and trying for so many years, and it was like, here, let me tell you the story. So I don't know if you ever had this experience. At the end of the year, like pastors will usually say, God is telling you to put down your dreams and what you're standing in faith for and what you would like to happen before the year ends. No matter what church I went to, every pastor did it, right? And so every year I would do it. And each year it wouldn't happen. And so my hope had been crushed. And I was just like, there's no point in hoping anymore. There's no point in trying anymore. What's the point at this stage, right? And I was just like, I quit. And 2020 started, and you would think that's the year, like I would just be like, lay down, it's all over, because everything shut down,
Yeah.
people lost their jobs, everything. But that moment of losing my job gave me more free time to do what God had called me to do. And it just awakened me and just showed me like, hey, this is the direction you need to be going to, because I was so focused on, this is going to sound so horrible, I was focused on having this image that everyone thinks that like I'm supposed to be. And so I was in the like field that I desired to do, and I'm striving in this means, right? But then God's like, hey, maybe I'm calling you over here instead, but you're looking at how much it pays you over here and what's going on over there. But I'm kind of directing you this way. So I need a shift to happen. I need your attention to shift. And everything shutting down for me was a blessing, because it gave me more free time to focus on what God called me to do. It was really the book. It was really the telling my story. And the reason why I said it was painful, because I had to be undone. I had to go back through my heartaches. I had to go back through my pain. And I think for me, like the greatest blockage for me was that I did not believe. My hope had been destroyed for so many years. Who was it? If you can remind me, who was it in the Bible? Where God, I think I should know this, told her that she was going to have a child within her old age, or he was telling her
Sarah.
husband. Yeah. And so God was telling her husband, and she like smirked, like, haha, like, yeah, right, that's not going to happen to me. And I think so many of us are in that place of where we've been standing in faith for that seed for so long, and we've been walking towards that. And then once we hear it and we're just like, haha, yeah, right, that's not me. And that's where I was at. Every year I wrote down these 3 things and it never happened. And I was like, yeah, right, God, that's not me. And so when 2020 hit, and even to 2021, like 2020 was my sit still, get in God's face, hear what he's saying to you, take those practical steps, remove everything that is withholding you from stepping into what God has called me to do and be, right? But most importantly, heal and undo the lies that you have been told. Undo the lies that have been spoken over you about who God has called you to be. Undo the lies that you have allowed in your own life, in your own heart. And so the painful part was the undoing and the like healing process. But then 2022 comes, and I meet you and all these other amazing people in the faith who came alongside me and kind of held my hand and carried me through this process, because where my faith was like down, I felt like you took like a charge and just went like, up now, get up. And then it spoke life into me. And because I was scared, and just hearing that you've gone through it and you've walked through this process, and it just kind of gave me like a little hope, a glimpse of hope, and just being like, I have hope. Thank you, God. Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you, Lord. Right. And so yeah, that was my awakening process. I guess you can call my
Wow.
awakening process.
Wow, that is awesome. You literally segued right into my second question that I was going to ask you. My next question, I was going to ask you, what healing had to take place in order for you to, step into your purpose? Because I know that once the awakening happens, that's when you realize I'm not yet where I'm going, but I can no longer stay where I've been. Like, no matter what great things, the money, the stability, the good looking man, whatever it takes, like whatever that thing is that tries to keep you in that old place. Once you know better, you do better. But when you don't know what to do in the doing better, you feel stuck. It's like you're stuck in the hallway between where you've been and where you're going. And so, what was the healing that had to happen for you?
I had to grieve the dreams.
Mm.
I had to be there. My will had to, I had to have a willpower to start new, to start afresh. And I think that's scary for so many of us because we're so used to the old and this is how it's always been and we're comfortable in that place. And stepping into the new is the unknown. And
Yes.
the unknown is scary because we're like, I know what could happen if I stay here. I know how this will be. But the unknown is where God is like, have faith, take these acts and
Yes.
trust me. And we're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how it's gonna look like. And so I had to grieve the old dreams and be willing to step into the new and to start over afresh. I had to let go of all the heartache and pain and the people that hurt me and say, I forgive you. I forgive this circumstance that happened between us. I forgive it and I let go. And I think forgiveness for me was one of the most difficult things because what forgiveness looked like to me wasn't what it actually is, right? So I had to
Yeah.
learn to pray for those people.
Yeah.
Um, and I had to I use this word, I had to be undone, meaning there were
Hmm.
lies and things I accepted about myself and believed about myself. And God had to be like, Mabel, I need you to address every lie that
Yeah.
was spoken over you, every lie that you spoke about yourself. I need you to go back. I need you to address it and I need you to undo it. Because until you address those lies, you cannot step into my calling. You cannot step into the truth of who I've called you to be. And so the greatest healing for me was the undoing. And that was the undoing of the lie, undoing of every falsehood, everything that wasn't in alignment of God's will for my life, even if that was friends, even if that was people in my household, and
Yeah.
God, yeah. And God
Sometimes
just
it's
saying,
it's the closest relationships that
yeah,
wind up, we find out in the awakening that those are the things that need to get kind of put aside if we're going to walk into something new, because
yeah,
they've been part of this old self,
yeah,
whether it's the toxic thinking, the negative thoughts, the self-talk, they may have been a part of that. And so some of those relationships, it's not that you cut them off, it's just they kind of take a turn into a different
yeah.
direction of how
And
they serve in your life.
yeah, and it's, I think it's for a season and possibly a time. It depends, right? And
Right.
I think it's also because sometimes when you are transforming into who
Mm-hmm.
God has called you to be, like people are used to who you've always been,
Girl, you better
and
preach it. I
and
don't, I
they
know.
and
The
they are comfortable.
expectations are the worst chains that will hold a person down in your hands, your ankles, and your mouth. Like, to me, I think Lazarus, when he came out of the tomb, was just bound by everybody's expectations.
It's like,
We'll just
well,
leave it at
you've
that.
changed, and what's happening now, and you become this new, like, yeah, because growth is happening in me. And while you and I've been that friend as well, to where my friends have changed, and I'm just like, wait, what's going on here? And where they've had to put me aside for like a season and time until God had to do a work in me and change me, and growth had to take place in me. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's not that you're saying chop chop off, like this is over and
Right.
done. No,
Yeah.
it's basically that you're saying like, hey, I need time apart to get with God or to get with myself and figure out
Right.
what is this stirring in my spirit, man? What is this stirring in my soul? And because
Yes.
I'm feeling called to something different and something higher, and I can't stay where I've been. Like something has to shift and change in me. And if you are hindering that, then this friendship or relationship needs to take a break for a season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to find yourselves when you've lost yourself in everyone else.
Ooh. Ooh, yes,
That's a whole other
Catherine.
video we'll have to do.
A whole nother video.
But it's true. And I love it because exactly what you're talking about is like, you know, in the lair, we have our program, and part of our program in that rise is awaken, heal. Because, you know, in order to, when you awaken, like I said, you come to yourself. Now you have to heal. It's the undoing. You have to undo all those things that held you back all this time, or kept you, maybe it didn't hold you back, but it kept you walking circles around the same mountain, the same problem, the same, that you're like, how I get the same thing, the same kind of job, the same kind of circumstance, the same kind of debt, the same kind of
thought process has to change.
It does. It does.
You have to like get a new thought process and stop thinking like, okay, well, this is what always happens. And then your speech has to change as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of that, right into my next question to you. What was the thing that you had to do to be equipped to step into this new role as Mabel Stevens, author and mentor and coach? What was it that you realized, this is what I'm this is an area I'm not strong, like you were saying, I want to move, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what step to make. That's the common question. That's the common thing I get from a lot of women is, I know what I want to do. I just don't know how to do it. I can see myself doing it, but I don't know how to get there. And so what was that thing that you had to do to be equipped? What was that choice you made to help you be equipped?
Coaching, mentorship. Like, what is that song? We all need somebody to lean on. Da, da, da. So like, guys, I can scream this from the top of my lungs over and over again. We need community. We need family. We're not meant to do life alone or by ourselves. God said it is not good for man to be alone. So I will make for him a helper suitable for him, right? And when I met this woman, when I met Catherine, and like she didn't even like try to, I don't even know how to put it. Like, she came to me at church and she just spoke something, and then we got on the phone and we started talking, and she's not even trying to like sell herself, but she's just being a caring person. She's being a caring person. And like the way she's talking to me, I'm like, do you coach? What do you do? We need to talk. Like, let's get this going, right? And I was just
guys,
like,
by the way, this is not a shameless plug. I didn't ask her to say this. She could have said anything else.
It is me being honest and very authentic. And it's me being honest and very authentic. And it's not just merely about her, but I just say for any and everyone. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Yes, get a life coach, get someone who's gone before you in life, who has walked this path, this journey, and say, hey, I need help. Humble yourself and don't be ashamed to say I need help. But then also, like I said, we need community around us, right? I had friends around me, like really good friends. When I was writing my book, they would check on me. Hey, how's it going? They're praying for me. And so not having to walk this life alone. And I'll be honest, because I had been burned, because I had been hurt, I kept myself away from everyone. I didn't trust people. And I think that's why the healing process had to take place, because I had to forgive and learn to love and to trust others again. I always thought the worst about people. I was like, why are you coming into my life? Like, what's going on here? But then realizing like, hey, in that moment where my hope was down and I didn't believe in myself, right? Like, God had placed people around me to like love me and to help me and carry me, walk with me through that process of becoming everything that he had called me to be. And so if I hadn't learned to forgive people, I wouldn't have been able to open up to like share my story, to heal, and hopefully that my healing process would bring healing to others as well. And so the pivotal point, even for the movement that I've started, or things that I've began to like do, like it is so foundational to me. Community, family, seek help at all costs. Like, humble yourself and don't be prideful. Like, I know it all. I've done this and I've done that. Humble yourself, lay it down and say, teach me, me, get coaching, get help.
Yes. So, I love that. That's so good, because a lot of times it's our pride that keeps us, whether we're afraid to ask, ashamed to ask, scared to ask, whatever the case may be. We think, oh, I should know this already. And sometimes you might know, but sometimes you need the accountability. Sometimes it's not about the not knowing. It's about having the accountability. Sometimes it's not the accountability, it's just having the partnership, the companionship of someone
Encouragement.
walking it out with it, the comfort, the encouragement, because it's
Yes.
not easy when you're taking steps in the unknown. You feel alone, you know.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when I think about the Wiz or the Wizard of Oz, you know, Dorothy was able to take that journey because she got companions along the way that kind of wanted what she wanted just in their own way, and it made the journey better.
Yeah.
It gave them the longevity, the grace and the strength for the longevity. And that's how it is with community. Community is so important. And I think it's twofold, right? Like when you get into community and you can raise your hand and say, I need help, or I need a mentor, or I need partners, or I need, you know, friends, and become vulnerable enough to share, you know, what you're doing and open your heart. Because I know for creatives, a lot of our fears is, I don't want to share that with anyone because they might steal it, or they might, you know, they might laugh at me, or they'll put it down. And you feel like the things you create are like your babies, and you're afraid to share it. And so when you're in a community of like-minded believers and people that are going for things, you don't worry about that stuff. You feel safe because you're with your tribe, you're with your people. And so, but that's twofold. It's not only equipping, but it's healing. It's in relationships that we heal. I always say, if God's going to bless you, this is not Bible, people. This is just me saying, if God's going to bless you, it's usually through relationship. And when the enemy wants to mess with you, it's usually through relationship. You know, it's through people. People and lives are the currency of the kingdom. That's what matters in the kingdom.
Yeah. Something that I say that goes along with that is that hurt people, but heal people, heal people. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think what was pivotal for me in that process with our you like helping me and like even others as well was that I had shared my dreams so many times with so many people, and people kind of look at me like I was crazy, like, you know, what, like that's so big and she's so small and look at where her life is. And I remember like sharing it with you or even some people at church or just some friends, and finally feeling like someone finally sees it or has faith in me and believes in me and that I could do it. And that encouraged me and it built me up. I think I'm not trying to make this a plug, it's just I'm just sharing life and stories. Last night I think Pastor kind of shared this example of, let's say, like, you know, let's let's say there's a person who God is saying like help them, right? And then everyone keeps saying no, 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 and turning them away. And when he shared that, I was there sitting trying not to cry because that was me. Like I was difficult. I'll be honest, I was difficult. I can't lie about that. And so I felt just so not accepted and just not a part of my community or the world that I lived in, right? And so I just felt like that was part of the hopelessness as well. And coming and being like, someone finally sees me and believes in me. Oh my goodness. And it just kind of just jump started me and like recharged me and just give me hope. Like I'm connected to something greater than myself, right? I'm connected.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tell us about that day, the first day that you stepped and launched into your purpose. Like the book was done and you created, and we worked together and we created this event, and you know, which there's more stuff to come, but that first day, what was that like for you?
I want to say it was nerve-wracking, but it wasn't. It was, I mean, like before it was nerve-wracking because I could be that person who psychs myself out. I'm all like anxious and whatnot, right? But the first day was just so much grace and so much joy and like just a weeping, like, oh my goodness. Because I remember, like I told you previously, constantly having dreams, never seeing it come to pass. But it was like, I could touch it. I could feel it. It's right in front of me. Oh my gosh, right? Like I was just like this child, like, oh my goodness, yay, it's here. And so it was a beautiful experience, and it was just weeping and just like, God, thank you for your faithfulness, thank you for your goodness, because I couldn't have done this on my own. Thank you for the people that you brought alongside me that I could not have even thought about or even like prayed about or knew that I needed in my life. And so I was just filled with so much like thankfulness. Like I was grateful because I think in doing anything like this, right? Stepping out in your calling, and it can be terrifying and scary, but I believe like it's very important. So let me say this before I say this point. I share in my book that we cannot know our purpose in life without connecting to our source, right?
Mhm.
So let me give you an example. A chair cannot tell the person who created a chair, I was created to be a phone. Because the person who created the chair can be like, well, if you were created to be a phone, that doesn't really work because I give you legs to hold people's up. I give you a seat, I give you a back. And whereas a phone, you need a screen, a speaker. I place everything in you that you need to complete what I have called you to do in this earth, right? And so we cannot fulfill our purpose in life without knowing our source, the creator of heaven and earth, the creator of life. We need to connect with that source, right? And taking those steps to do whatsoever it is that we feel called to do. Sometimes it's so heavy, it's so great, it's so big that not sometimes it is, we need grace. We need grace. And I can humbly say where I am today, nothing. I knew nothing about, I
Yes.
didn't know how, I didn't know where to begin. And that's where I was. I was really like lost, the lost gift. I was really lost. And I was like, God, I see this in my heart. I see this here. I don't know where to start. And then we connected and it was like, and you like kind of drew that out of me. Like, I shared with you what I want to do, but you saw the little in between processes and was like, okay, well, this step, I said, this is what I needed. This is everything I needed. And I just started writing notes. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And so it just it the whole day, the whole thing was just, man, I'm thankful. The people I was surrounded with, the people that he brought, and it was people like once I started speaking and sharing what God had put in my heart, like those who I believed I was called to, they started gravitating to me. They started attracting to me and being like, hey, I see you're doing this. I feel called to this too. Please help me, teach me. I want to learn as well. And I'm just like, this is so God. Like I didn't have to
And
go
that's what
searching for
happens
them. Yeah.
because the Bible says, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. So once you've mastered the part of being fruitful in your life, the next thing is to multiply.
Yeah.
It's just, you start to attract those who want what you have, in the sense of, hey, that's what I'm looking for. I need that. And then it's just about multiplying that. And because you become, we've learned, right? We in the kingdom become the seed that gets sown into the earth. And so as a seed, you start producing fruit that's not just in your life, but in the lives of others. So it's amazing. It always happens. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome, Mabel. I'm so excited. And I have to say, because I was there at your book launch and your book signing, it was an amazing, amazing event. It was beautifully done. It was, and guys, she did it in what, like, I think 3 months, like you planned it.
It was less than that. It was like 2 months. I was like, so, okay, it's happening.
It was amazing, and I just want to share and encourage those lionesses out there that you've been writing in your journal, you've been vision boarding, writing out, listing, and dreaming on things. Start where you are. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Stop comparing yourself to other people. We look at other people that have been doing it for 10 years and think we have to just jump off the plank and start like they did, when it doesn't have to be that way. You have to be a good steward and be diligent with what God has put in your hands and what he's given you. And the more you take a step, people, places, things, resources, they just start lining up for what it is that he has called for you to walk in your purpose and calling. And so just like Mabel just shared in her story, I love that. That's exactly what he did for you, Mabel. And that's awesome. I'm so excited about what you're doing. And you're reaching young women that need this. Like I said, I wish at that age I had that. I grew up in a youth group and things like that. And that instilled a lot of foundation in me, but I had a lot of healing to do. I wish there were mentors and I had friends, but we were all going through stuff. We were all like just kind of surviving and coping. getting through life with each other, you know, and we knew the Lord, but we were just like trying to, you know, get through it, you know. And but if I in my 20s, you know, it would have just been so different, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of things. However, I will say this. I went through those things. It may not have been God's best for a lot of the things that I went through, but it made me who I am today.
Yes.
Because he takes everything and he turns it around for our good.
Okay.
And he works it for our good. And so I don't regret it. I don't regret. And I say that to encourage anyone watching this, that if you have been through stuff and you think your past gets the right to tell you that you don't qualify for your future, for the future that God has for you, that's a lie.
Yep.
And I want to dispel that lie today to say your past does not dictate where you're going. You know, you can make a decision today to let that past, put it down and say, I am who I am today. I went through that because of who I was yesterday.
Yeah.
But today I am this person, or I don't know who I am. Then get to know the person, get to know the source so that you can understand and discover the person he has created you to be. And that's what we do all here at the Lair. That's what we're about. It's about awakening, healing, equipping, and commissioning women to lead. You know, I just want to see women mobilized and leading in their purpose, and not just powerfully and passionately, but profitably, you know, because I believe there's a way and a structure of putting things together where income can come in and increase. And guys, also, it's not just about starting a business. It's also about, maybe for some people, you need to get started working for someone else, but within your lane of purpose.
Yeah.
You know, you can work for a company and totally pivot. And because every time I've stepped in and I've used my gifts and I've stepped in purpose, I've increased, I've gotten raises, I've gotten promotions, so, you know, God blesses you when you're walking in the fullness of what he's called you to be and do.
Yeah.
And so it just lines up that way. So I love it. Mabel, tell us how people can get working with you. How can they get your book, The Lost Get Found? Guys, it's a purpose-filled journey of discovering you. If you are a young woman, well, I mean, any woman can read this. But if you're a young woman from 18 to 35, you know, Mabel's your girl. You need a coach, you need a mentor, you need somebody to help you find your identity, your purpose, and move forward. Mabel will help you get there. But tell us, how can they work with you and how can they find you?
So you can go to my website, www. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about the speech impediment.
That's okay.
I tell everyone this, there are moments where it's fine, and then there's moments where it's just certain sounds I get stuck on. So yeah, but
you don't even have to explain. It's all good.
You can go to my site, and that's heybellstevens.com. And in April, I am starting my program to where I will start to coach. I'm coaching young girls between the ages of, I want to say 17. We're going to, you know, give a little segue there to 35. And then you can also subscribe to my blog at the same website as well. And my book can be purchased on my site. And then all of my handles are my first name and my last name. So that's Mabel and Stevens with a V, Stevens.
Awesome.
Mabel Stevens.
Mabel, I'm so glad that you were here. I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud of all the work that you've done and everything that you're doing for the kingdom, everything you're doing for other women to serve them in their purpose and serve them with your purpose. So thank you so much for the gift that you give to the world. And that's just, you know, revealing God's love through your gifts to those who need it most. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here today. I'm really glad to have had you. Finally, we've been talking about this for a long time. So I'm really glad to finally be able to have recorded with you and just been able to share and talk. So thank you. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed this so much.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, guys, there you have it. Go on Mabel's website. It's Mabel Stevens, STEVENS.com. And go ahead and sign up for her blog, get her book, support her. She is doing great things. And a lot of what Mabel does, she doesn't, like she has her coaching and things like that, but she does so much more in the community. She works with young women, she dances, she teaches dance, she just does so much. So support her, and let's support our fellow lioness. And so we're going to be coming to you guys with more stuff. We're going to be having a new Lioness Rise episode every Saturday at our Saturday Spotlights. And then we're going to be having Monday Masteries coming, guys. I told you I'm getting ready for you. I'm going to be teaching you how to do business, how the practical side, the administrative side of business, but also the leadership side of business. So we're going to be bringing all that to you. Finally, that's coming out. I'm in transition because I'm leaving one area and I'm coming at you. So get ready for me because I'm going to be bringing you a lot of good content, a lot of good stuff. So I love you. I thank you. I bless you. So let's go ahead and pray. I want to leave you with this prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you for every woman watching. I thank you that you have called them and placed a seed in them, oh God, of greatness. And I pray and I speak, oh God, to the greatness within every person under the sound of my voice, that it will rise up, that it will restore into the person that you have called them to be, and that it will reveal the glory on the earth that you have called them to reveal. So Lord, have your way in each home that is watching and represented here, and do what only you can do in each woman. Bring them to that place of discovery, to the place of dreams, to the place of revelation, what they need, and bring them the resources and the connection and the help that they need to make that happen. And may they see that the lair is a resource to them as well. And I thank you for them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you again in our next video. And don't miss out, and share this with somebody that this may be able to bless them and help them step into their calling. So have a wonderful evening, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.